Hey everyone, I'm Sharon Vaknin for CNET.com with your guide to getting started on Twitter. Now, this is Twitter 101, so we'll go over the basics like setting up your account, Twitter lingo like RT and pound signs, and finally, I'll give you a basic strategy for tweeting. On Facebook and Twitter, I asked you guys to give me your best tips, so I'll include those too. And I should also mention that there are a ton of Twitter apps for your desktop or your mobile devices, but I'm just going to focus on what Twitter does, and you can decide which app to use after we cover the basics. Okay, so let's get started at Twitter.com. First, pick a username, which should be short and sweet. Refrain from picking weird handles like DogLoverXO. We just don't do that on Twitter. Now edit your profile. There are only a few things to do here, so it's important to get it right. Upload a profile picture and add a bio. As Ashley Laurel explains, your bio should include who you are, where you're from, and what you're interested in. It'll help people decide if they should follow you or not. Good. Now that you've got your profile set up, let's talk about tweeting. This is where you tweet, and below this is your timeline where you see updates from people you follow. For tweets, you're limited to 140 characters or less, which you probably know, but there is some Twitter lingo you need to learn. If you want to tag someone in a tweet, use the @ symbol followed by their username. Your tweet will show up in their Mentions tab, and anytime someone tags you, you'll see it in your Mentions tab. So if I want to say something to Eric Franklin or Needopal on Twitter, I'd write @Needopal, then the message. This tweet will only show up in Eric's mentions and the timeline of anyone who follows Eric and I. But if I tweet something and include @Needopal somewhere in the middle, it'll show up in the timeline of everyone who follows me. @replies or mentions are public, so if you want something a little more private, send a direct message. You can send a message to anyone who follows you. Just go to the Messages tab and send one here. Now let's talk about retweets. If you see something interesting from someone on your timeline, you might want to repost it to your followers. Just click Retweet under the tweet you want to repost, and it'll show up in the timeline. Or you can copy the tweet and preface it with RT, then the person's Twitter handle, and that way it'll show up in that person's Mentions tab. But now that you know how to communicate on Twitter, you might be wondering what the heck you should tweet about. Unless you're Kim Kardashian or Charlie Sheen, you're not going to get 1 million followers instantly. Be patient and use my tips to build your following. As Simon Everard points out, please, please, please don't talk about what you had for breakfast. Instead, find a niche and tweet about things that you're interested in or good at. Like if you decided that your niche is gaming, post links to articles you found, new games you're playing, and retweet other people in your gaming community. When you retweet, you're building relationships and getting the attention of other people like you, which is important for building a following. Talk to people or you'll get really lonely. Send them @replies and ask questions, comment on their tweets, and make conversation. If you're looking for people to follow, Twitter will give you suggestions over here on the front page. Like this person said, be active in other people's conversations, and don't be discouraged if others are not active in yours. Another key Twitter trick is to use hashtags, which are like keywords for tweets. Just put the # before any word. For example, I can tweet, "I found this awesome recipe on chow.com, I can't wait to try it." Then you click that hashtag and see who else is talking about recipes. Sometimes hashtags become so popular that they end up in the trend section in the sidebar. It's a quick way to see what people are talking about. So those are the basics of using Twitter. But before I go, here's some advice from Joe Siegler. When starting new, try not to follow too many people too quickly. You can get overwhelmed. I've seen a few friends quit Twitter because of too much information. Thanks, Joe. Now, if you do get overwhelmed or just have any questions, feel free to ask me on Twitter or Facebook if it's more than 140 characters. And if you want to see more how-to videos, visit howto.cnet.com. For CNET, I'm Sharon Vaknin, and I'll see you on the interwebs.